Hello people, I am JABY KOAY. Joining me is ACHARA KIRK.
Hi.
And we are also joined by Onir.
Yay!
Director of the upcoming film, Shab. I am just learning about you. And I'm just learning about this film, and we just saw the trailer like a few minutes ago. How long were you in production with Shab?
I first wrote the script in 2000, so actually the production started 17 years ago in a way.
Wow.
It was my first script, the first script I ever wrote. From 2014 to 15, we shot the film.
So why did it take so long from the initial conception to finally shooting it?
So when I first wrote the script, at that point, whoever I approached, I make films independently now, but at that time I was starting off. And went to in terms of getting finance, we're just too shocked with the script, and they were like, it's too bold and it's not, the Indian milieu is not yet ready for the film. But I really wanted to make it, so every time I would complete a film, I would try again to raise the finance, rework the script, because I would grow as a writer, director, and also the milieu kept changing. Everybody was always scared, I don't know why. So finally, after films, I said, okay, enough is enough, I have to do it myself, figure out ways of doing it, and that's how I started it.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I was just reading over your bio, and like you've been in this business for a little while now, like about 20 years you've been doing this.
Yeah, 20 years, and as a filmmaker, 11 years.
I saw your first film was a risky one as well. Right?
What made it possible was that by then I knew that every script, that was my fifth script, that every script I was writing was perceived as risky. So I wrote it in a way where it could be shot with a lower budget in a docu-fiction format, and initially we thought we'll just shoot it with the video, you know, but then everybody who I sent the script, they loved it so much that they were willing to work for free.
Oh wow, that's great.
I was fortunate that they believed and trusted, and that film happened. I'm glad it became my first film.
It sounds like everyone like felt the passion behind it and really wanted to help with the message that it was sending home.
Yes, yes.
That's incredible. The first question I wanted to ask you was, if you were to meet a budding filmmaker, so like someone new who wanted to break into the Indian film industry, what would be the first thing you'd say to them?
I would say first thing is, you know, you need to, one is evaluate yourself, because, you know, I get filmmakers, writers approaching me, like literally every day I get emails that I have an idea for a great festival film, or, you know, it's mostly like that. And I tell them that one is, it's very important to have stories to tell, and also not, I mean, if you're trying to be like someone else, it's very difficult to make your own identity, especially if you don't belong to the industry. If you are someone who comes from an outside space, it's important to have something that is special in you. Otherwise, it's very difficult to step into. Either you have a big star who loves you, who believes in you, or you have something, you know, in terms of content, where people will be excited and say that, wow, I've not seen this before, I've not, you know. So I feel these are the two factors, and it's also important to evaluate. You know, I always told, I just had one dream always, that was being a filmmaker. But I told myself that when I see my first film, I don't care so much about the box office, but if I don't respect myself, I'll quit.
Yeah.
You know? So it's important to do that, I think.
You said that generally your stories tend to be more on the risky side, right? So, you know, you're trying something different. What is it about these stories that draws you in? Like, what about a story makes you excited?
I think most of the films that I make, including Shab, are inspired by real life stories of what I have heard, seen, and some of it experienced myself. You know, so I feel a lot of it is, I suppose my identity is a little risky in this. So I kind of attract that. I like talking about whatever I perceived as marginalized and trying to give it a voice and reach out. You know, I can't make a film which has been commissioned to me. You know, I've never been able to do that. It has to come from within, whichever format it might be. You know, it might be a comedy, whatever. I think what inspires me are voices that are constantly suppressed. And that's why it kind of becomes perceived very often as not quote-unquote commercial.
That makes a lot of sense. So you have deliberately stayed outside of the system then and gone the independent route so that you can keep focusing on these stories that you like more?
Initially, it was not a choice. I'll be honest with you, because I don't come from that kind of big financial backup. It wasn't easy, and that's why, like my fourth film, I crowdfunded totally. Crowdfunded, and there were about 400 people from 47 countries who put in money or worked for the film, and that's how I could make that film. So it's not an easy path, but I think by now I've kind of got used to it a little, which is not nice. I like I like freedom as a creative person, and what I try to do is I try to use the language of mainstream commercial cinema. If you look at my film, it's not really art house at all. So the content is not perceived as mainstream, but I use the style of mainstream cinema to try and reach out to a wider audience.
That's a really good idea.
That's slick. When does this come out again?
June 30th.
June 30th. How do you feel? Is this like your biggest film to date?
It's for me, in a way, the biggest challenge, because it was my first script that everybody kind of didn't want to, support, but I never gave up. Over the last few years, I've been thinking that I've been an outsider, a newcomer, and it took me it was not easy to get into the industry. So I want to use whatever knowledge, experience I have to also slowly become a platform for other newcomers. So last year I produced a film and released a film which was with a first-time director. Okay, till now I've introduced about 5 new music directors in my films, and 2 of them are now one of the biggest music directors in Hollywood. In this film, I'm introducing 2 new actors, and I've trained them for 2 years, and I thought that, okay, since as a person I can't run after stars, I will try and create good actors who can become stars, and hopefully they stand by me like I've stood by them, and that will empower us to make our kinds of film in a bigger space, because right now very often the films I make are dictated also by what I think the kind of budgets I can. It's not that I'm craving to make a huge film, budget film, but at the same time sometimes I have ideas which need bigger budget, and I keep pushing those ideas right now into the cold storage.
You're often diving into these particular subject matters. Is there a common challenge you have found other than people are afraid to touch your material? Is there like a common, as a filmmaker, you maybe have gotten jaded like you were talking about earlier. Is there something you encountered where you're like, wow, maybe I should take up making shoes because this is not worth it sometimes? Like, is there something that you come across all the time where it's like, this is just almost not worth it sometimes?
Every day, I take the public transport very often, and I look at people traveling in the train, 9 o'clock in the morning, going to office till 6, 7, 8, mostly hating the job that they do, not even connecting, coming back, not happy at house, and I feel, oh my God, I am so fortunate. I'm working in a space that I dreamt of when I was in class 8, so I can't ask for more. I mean, I think all the hurdles, everything just makes it more precious.
Wow. That's a solid answer.
Yeah.
Do you have any tricks that you use when you're having a hard time with an actor getting the exact performance that you want? Like you go, okay, I'm gonna use this thing. The thing I used in 2005, I'm gonna use that right now to make this actor do what I want because he's being stubborn.
To give an example, I'm just working on workshops with my actors for my next film, which I start very soon. There was this character who is supposed to be this lazy, adorable, next door, kind of a best friend person. Yesterday, he sends me a message. I say that check out my Instagram. So I go there and there's this shot of his working out, 6 packs, trying to show it off. So I just send him a message. I said that I realized that you'll be able to act out the character. You will never become the character. And I know I was like horrible and mean, but I know that for the next couple of months, he will not go to the gym again. So I usually try, if it's someone new, because again, I'm introducing 3 new people, I try to make them, one is write the backstories of the characters before film starts, and also what happens to them later. And as they build their character and their stories, I try and take a lot of that and rework the script so that when they are at the set, like for example, I just go and buy all their clothes and give them a wardrobe and say, you decide which day your character is going to wear what. Maybe it's old-fashioned, but I like them to live it. You know, for example, in this film, the main characters, the male protagonist and female protagonist meet in the last scene of the film. So I'm not introducing the two actors to each other, and they keep talking on the phone. So I want them to hear their voices and keep imagining what that other person looks like. And I feel that when you act it and when you actually feel it, there is a difference.
You're very hands-on with the creative process, but you also seem to feel the importance of the collaborative effort. You feed off of their choices a lot.
For me, one credit I never use is a film by Onir. It always goes directed by Onir, because I feel a film by is too much. So many people who are putting in their love and his hard work, and suddenly it goes, you know, I feel extremely uncomfortable. I feel, yes, I will develop my, individual style, but it can't be that. I don't see myself ever doing that.
How about an Onir joint? Very few people will understand that. It's a Spike Lee thing. He says a Spike Lee joint. What was the very first film when you were a kid, like, that made you realize, oh my God, that's what I have to do?
I think it came from my mother. She always wanted to be an actress. Her father never allowed her, but she loved films. At some point, she was in love with an actor, which also didn't go anywhere because, in those days, families vary. And then she saw my father, who was extremely much better looking than the actor. I am born and brought up in Bhutan, in Thimphu, which is a very, very small town, had one cinema hall. And my mother used to take us to watch movies every week, and it was art cinema, mainstream cinema, all kinds of films, And I think somehow her dreams have seeped into my system, First, I think when I was in class 6, I had seen this old version of David Copperfield, and it just stayed with me, those images. I've just seen it once, but I still remember the shot of him, sitting on a rocking chair with his wife, and he's rocking and she's ill, and in the morning he wakes up and she's dead. It just stayed with me, and I just wanted to be a part of that world. I didn't know how to get there, but I started dreaming, and I would write down my dreams, and it's very funny that some of those dreams when I had as a child, I use it now in my films as to convey certain things.
That's really cool.
Because you've been in the industry now for over 20 years, but before directing, you did other things like editing. And how has that informed you as a director, or has it informed the way you work at all?
The fact that when I went for training in filmmaking, I went for editing and not direction was actually very planned. So I knew that I wouldn't be able to become a director just like that from outside. And I didn't want to assist, so I wanted to be the head of a department, so I trained in editing. And for me, it was always clear, even if I'm doing something that I'm not liking, I will give my 100%, because I'm trying to realize someone else's dream, the director's. I will give my suggestions, but I'll try and reach his vision. And I made great friends. I knew that I would need support. I realized that if I had to make films independently, the more I knew about different departments. So I've worked as an art director, a writer, editor, music producer, all that before I became a director. So when I made my first film, I was director, one of the producers, writer, editor. I did a lot of the art direction myself. So I was not scared about having to handle all that. And I think, my attention when I was at the set was, okay, we have to complete it within a certain time and budget. So there was no time for nervousness, which I think 10 years of working in the film industry before making the first film, I think kind of empowered me, kind of also made me respect my machine, be it the editing, my tools. Machine doesn't sound nice. And also everyone else who worked along with me, because I valued my contribution at that time as an editor or an art director. I think I value those contributions much more now as a director, and I like to give everyone that much more space.
What I was going to ask you was, I had two questions, and now one of them went away because I got caught up in what you were saying. This is a common theme today. So what I was going to ask you was, this vision that you've had years ago is finally about to be seen by the public. Like, how do you feel like, because you're so close to, you're on the cusp of this thing coming out?
Honestly, I'm nervous every time your film comes out because, you know, good, bad, ugly, it's my love, you know. And also, the problem is there are so many other factors that come into how you are able to reach out. Like, for example, you know, I'm excited about today's chat. I'll be again honest to you because this kind of helps me reach out to an audience there, which otherwise does not hear so much about the non-mainstream. It's, you know, it's mostly again Bollywood, 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 but a lot of festivals, and especially European distribution, there's a cliche of what of India one wants to see. It's either Bollywood or a certain kind of very exotic India, you know, but my films are where characters are like you and me. A lot of the identity crisis or whatever is something that is easily identifiable, which makes it actually not so exotic anymore. You're constantly thinking then of innovative ways to reach out, and that's what is exciting.
Right. So I wanted to ask you a question, kind of piggybacking on something we talked about earlier. What would you say to like a young Indian guy or girl who doesn't have the means to getting into like a good film school, but they want to be a filmmaker? Like that's their passion or their dream, but like they don't have the finances to get into a good school.
Okay, so that's again a situation I face constantly, that people, you know, tell me, can we work with you as an assistant? I usually, you know, tell them to come for 1 month, you know, as an intern, because, you know, there are a lot of people who are also not honest. I'll be telling, you know, they tell me that, oh, we want to learn direction, and then you realize actually they want to become an actor. Or, you know, so I don't like not being upfront. You know, it's like really irritating, you know. And it's okay to want to be an actor. You can still come and, you know, I give them that space to also work as so that they learn the entire, you know, also respect the medium. But for assistant directors, I usually call them for a month and I tell them that, okay, you know, to try and explore what exactly is their passion. Yeah. Is it the glamour of the industry, or they really actually have a story to tell? So for me, film school is good, but not, because a lot of people just have a lot of money and can go to a film school. That doesn't make them a filmmaker. And a lot of people have the passion, don't have the money. I would want to believe that I can at least give some of them a space. Also, today with your mobile, you can make a film.
Yes.
So what is stopping you? If you have a story and a phone, you can make a film.
Yep. I agree. 100%. I agree 100%. I want to thank you, Onir, so much for doing this interview with us. This has been really eye-opening, and I really enjoyed talking to you and hearing about your process and just like your kind of philosophy and approach to everything. I think it's really beautiful, like the way you think of other people and the way you're trying to help out other filmmakers and actors and whatnot. I think it's really cool. Obviously, we had a little bit of issues with the Skype there, as usual. Every time we do Skype, it's annoying. That was not by choice. It was just like the only thing that worked with our recording software and whatever, so we had to use Skype. But I just wanted to add on to that interview. It just seems like within the people he's working with, he seems very nice.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to make it a collaborative effort where he picks out the clothes and he tells the actors that you choose, what do you want to wear?
Yeah.
And he's like giving them the options and allowing them to kind of explore their creative aspects. And he's writing out these chapters of their lives surrounding the movie to give them more meat to work with, rather than just letting them fend for themselves with figuring out their
I thought he was getting them to write it out.
Or either way, like he's working with them
exactly.
as a process. Because I've been on sets where, you know, directors are just like, go do it. Like, figure it out. Yeah. Like, you're on your own. Now, albeit I've mostly worked with commercials, but it's still like, there's like little story-based things in the things that I've done where a director can kind of give you a little bit more to play with, but they usually are just like, no, go do it. And you just have to show up and know your lines and get in and get out. Whereas here, it's like, he's doing what a lot of artistic filmmakers do, which is they're more hands-on and crafting it, and I really appreciate that.
And it's also a collaboration as well. Like he said, he doesn't like to be like filmed by.
Right. He's very,
everyone involved that makes it what it is.
He's very appreciative of everyone's position. And I think that also stems from the fact that he has had a lot of people's positions. And one of the big takeaways I had from what he said was, I'm saying this as someone who already practices this, I didn't practice it as well as he did. I'm gonna be honest, but I do practice it in with like YouTube and whatnot, but he really puts in the work. He really is diligent about it, because I've come across a lot of people, and I've been guilty of this myself, where I'm doing a job that I don't actually like because I want to do this other thing. Like when I was working in casting, I really wanted to do my YouTube videos and my short films and whatnot. And so my heart wasn't as in it, but I did work my ass off.
Right.
And it's like, it's just like there were days where I was guilty of not putting in my heart and soul into it because I just didn't enjoy it. But he explained that no matter what he was doing, he was putting all of himself into it. And I think that's what helped him to stand apart from everybody else, because a lot of people take the thing that I said I was guilty of, where if your heart's not in it, you just don't give a shit and you're not working as hard at it. But he's got a lot of passion behind anything he engages with, and I think that makes you more friends in the long run. And the fact that he's giving back and paying it forward by helping out other people, that only helps you in the long run. By giving more, you're getting more back.
Exactly.
Tenfold, you know? And I think that that's gonna help him along his journey as he keeps going forward. I thought even despite all the mess ups with Skype, there was a lot that I got out of that.
And I think it's going to be really cool to watch his most recent film, Shab. Yeah. I really want to see what his style is and the story that he's telling.
I am as well. I'm interested in that as well, but irrespective, just like him as a person, he seems really cool. He was someone I would want to work with just because of, like, I'd want to feed off of the, I'd want to get osmosis. Like,
like learning through osmosis and just like soaking up his
his energy, his energy and his style with how he talks to people. Like, to me, that's just, there's so much in that is applicable to, like, life. Sorry, he just sent me a message and my thought got stuck for a second. I just think that there's a lot to take from, not just with filmmaking, but like the philosophy he has. I think that we can all use that in whatever it is that we're pursuing in our daily lives, in our jobs, because there's nothing worse than when you go to, like, for us in the States, you go to the DMV, right? Where you get your driver's license and nobody gives a shit about who you are. You're just basically an animal coming through, and they just want you to get out of their way. And like you experience that with airport security, like people who just don't care that you're a person, whereas he seems to be the complete antithesis of this, where whatever he's doing, he cares that you're a human being and an individual, and you've got, all your, like, what do you call it? Not faculties, but
senses?
Idiosyncrasies and whatnot, and what are your sensitivities and all that stuff. Like he just cares about you as a person, and I think that's just very respectful. It's really cool. Thank you again to Onir for allowing us to have this interview with you. Best of luck to that film.
Yes.
And looking forward to watching it. Thanks for hanging out with us. Please check out ACHARA KIRK on the social media. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Check out our other reactions, reviews, interviews, short films, and video game related videos. I'm JABY KOAY. This is
ACHARA KIRK.
Peace out.